When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. If you can tell, there's been a little bit of a difference to the background. I actually switched computers, so a lot of my OBS stuff is still different. I'm still in the process of changing it. So let me know how, A, my mic sounds, and 2, how you guys like the background. If you want me to change it, if you don't like it, let me know. But yeah, in today's video, we're going to be talking about George R. R. Martin's latest update about the Winds of Winter and kind of what he's been working on this past year, and talking about my thoughts and my opinions on it. Let me know what you guys, think about it. If you think Winds is going to be released before, he dies, hopefully that is not in the near future. And let's get into the video. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment for more of this type of content, please do. I do a bunch of content on A Song of Ice and Fire, and let's get into it. So I'm not really going to go through and read everything in this article. I'm going to focus on the main points of this blog. Now, I'll probably have some up on the screen as I talk about this, but the big thing I want to talk about is George R. R. Martin in this article very much does not seem like Winds of Winter is a priority to him. I've done a video on this before, and it got a lot of backlash. I did get a lot of support as well, but it got a lot of backlash. And it's still one of my most popular videos on this channel, but I just don't think George is taking Winds of Winter as a priority. And you go through this kind of blog, and the big thing I took away from this is nothing was positive about Winds of Winter. If you read anything on here, like I have up on the screen right now, it says, "Yes, of course, I'm still working on the Winds of Winter. I have stated that 100 times in 100 venues, having to restate it endlessly and is just wearisome. I made a lot of progress on Winds of Winter in 2020 and less in 2021, but less is not none." Again, did any of that sound positive? George just seems very annoyed that people want this book released, and they're asking him a lot because it's been, 11 years at this point. Nothing seems positive. When you look at how George talks about other things like Fire and Blood or House of the Dragon or other works outside of A Song of Ice and Fire, he seems so much happier about those things. And as we go deeper into this blog, George kind of starts to talk about how he wants to release, more Duncan Egg Tales. He wants to release, Fire and Blood Part 2, or as he's going to call it, Blood and Fire, which I think is kind of dumb. I think he should just do Fire and Blood Part 2, but that's up to him to do. I don't think it's a big difference either way. He's talking about a lot of spin-off shows, kind of trying to do the Game of Thrones universe, kind of like the MCU. But if you notice, he's saying he wants to do all those things, and now what used to be a good thing is that Winds of Winter was like, I'm going to do this first. Now, obviously, that was not truthful because he released other things before he did that. But it shows me that he is not putting Winds of Winter first anymore. I think you look at a lot of the stuff he's doing now, which is either recycled content that he already has stuff written for, or it's stuff that is easier to make, that, you already have kind of that story. You just got to fill in the gaps almost. It just seems like Winds of Winter to me at this point, if we're looking at it from a positive side at this point, I could say that Winds of Winter is maybe halfway done. Maybe. If we just kind of take away, okay, maybe through the last 9 years, he had gotten through at least maybe 400, 500 pages of the book. And when he's saying 100 of 100 pages, he's not saying the edited, condensed down what's going to be put out. If you look at Dance with Dragons, it was like 1,700 pages that got, trimmed down a bit. And when he says 100 of hundreds, we're kind of looking at it from that point of view. This book is supposed to be the biggest of the entire series, so let's say it takes 2,000 untrimmed pages. Saying, okay, maybe he has 500 to 600 done in those first 9 years, and then he says hundreds of pages in 2020, let's say that's maybe 300 to 400 pages. We're looking at probably roughly 1,000. And then he says, and this is what scares me, less than that in 2021, but less is not none. He's basically considering it, a little bit more than nothing. That tells me I would say probably 100 pages or less. I feel like if he wrote more than that, he would be telling it in here, saying hundreds of pages, like 200 or more. So what this tells me is he didn't really work that much on Winds in this past year. And it's one of those things where you look at it, if we're on the positive side, I think Winds of Winter is probably in the halfway done to a little over halfway, like 55% to 60% done would be the positive side. If we're also looking at kind of the chapters that came and he's already released, I think you just look at that and say, if we're on the positive side, 60% of the way done. So he also doesn't say anything like, hey, it's, getting close to being done, or maybe it'll be done by the end of the year. None of that's being said, and I know he said he won't do that anymore because, it got people worked up, all that stuff. But it just tells me that he is not focusing on a Winds of Winter. And it's sad because as he's going to go on, he's going to say he's very busy. He's working on all this other stuff like I've mentioned in this video. What I'm going to say is that he is not focusing on Winds of Winter. I think the odds of Winds of Winter getting done has gone down tremendously. Just looking at George's mindset and what he is kind of preferring to do. Because I've said in the last George R.R. Martin video that I did, which was probably a couple months ago at this point, when you are wanting to do something, right, you need to make it a priority in your life. Right? If that's, getting healthy or reading or, I don't know, think about improving anything in your life. It has to become a priority. If you look at the priorities in my life, right, whether that's, family, friends, relationship with girlfriend, or exercising, doing content, those are all things that are very, the tip top of my priorities. And I think when you look at George's priorities and his mindset at this point, I think Winds of Winter isn't one. And I think that is an opinion that is shared by a lot of people, and it's not, an uncommon opinion. Because it just, to me, feels like George doesn't want to write new content. If you look at a lot of the stuff, the shows are stuff that's already been out. Even he talked about the Dunk and Egg series that they're probably going to try and do. It has a lot of the similar beats of a Game of Thrones, right? I was watching Preston Jacobs' video before I did this one, and because he goes through it thoroughly, goes through, all the entire blog, and something he mentioned that I thought was very reminiscent to kind of what I was thinking is that Dunk and Egg isn't really done. You have a good 3 seasons worth, like Preston Jacobs had said, and then there's, stuff where he said he's going to get it done. So for me, I see all this, and it worries me. I'm a channel that focuses mainly on A Song of Ice and Fire, but the problem with that is, yes, I love the universe he's created. I love the characters he's created. But the thing is, you can only talk about them for so long. You can only, do this type of content for so long before people just don't want to do it. And I think that he thinks that he can keep his fan base alive with these spin-off shows, right? And the problem is, the people that are going to be watching the spin-off shows are going to be people like me and you that are watching this video, where you care enough about this that you're watching YouTube videos on it, or you're reading the books over and over again. Those are the people that care about it. And as we see Winds of Winter not coming out, I do believe he is going to lose some more of that fan base. Now, do I think A Song of Ice and Fire will ever just be forgotten and nobody talks about it? No, just because of how great what he's already written to this point is. I'm just saying that there is very small chance to me that this universe they're trying to create will actually end up going anywhere. I think the new show that they're making, House of the Dragon, is a very good start to the Game of Thrones kind of universe type thing, because it is one of the more interesting aspects of A Song of Ice and Fire, right? I think the Dance of the Dragons is one of the more interesting topics, and for me, it is one of my favorites. I've already talked about how Rhaenyra is one of my favorite characters. If I ever did like a top 5, she probably would be on that list. But I think for me, if Winds is ever going to get done, and the series as a whole, right, getting Dream of Spring done as well, he's just going to have to sit down and just write, and focus only on Winds, because he talks about also that he has had a very heavy involvement with these shows like House of the Dragon, and that's good and bad, right? Because I think House of the Dragon will be a lot better because of that. But at the same time, if you were going to ask me, do I want House of the Dragon to be good or do I want Winds done? I want Winds done. right? These prequels and all that stuff to the main story are nice and they're really cool, but they almost feel like content to just keep people there in the community, right? It just seems like you're giving us as readers and fans of his work something to just kind of read that's in the universe, right? Because Fire and Blood to me is a very good book. I like Fire and Blood. I know some people don't because it's not as story driven. It's more kind of a history book with kind of the dramas in it. But I really do like the book. But again, I would rather have wins. I think most of the community, the people watching this video, want to see the story finished. And I just don't know if it's ever going to happen in George's lifetime. If you want my honest opinion and the best outlook on when we get wins is not going to be done by this year. I would highly doubt if it's done by next year. I would say the best time that we got it would maybe be the end of 2024, maybe even end of 2025. Because, like I said, I think the book is maybe 60% of the way done. I think maybe in 3 years, if he is able to do maybe 200 to 300 pages a year, or if he just has one breakout year like he did in 2020, I think it's possible. Why I think 2025 at the end, because you have to go through editing and stuff like that and all the publishing, and then you're also going to want to bring out the book right before Christmas, in that kind of area. So to me, I think this is not good. I think George, he's already, like I've said, I don't want to wish death upon people. But when you look at it from a realistic point of view, George is not a healthy person. He's, I believe, 76, 75 in that range. It doesn't look good. I mean, my grandparents were in their early 80s. They were very healthy people, and they passed away. Now, for me, I'm scared that we are never going to probably get the finish of this. I think we'll be lucky if we get wins. Like I said, because I think wins is the best chance that we'll have getting a next novel. I think Dream of Spring is what that is, a dream. Because Dream of Spring, the only way it gets completed to me is if while writing Wins, he kind of figures out exactly what he wants to do in Dream, so that writing Dream takes a lot. It's very quick. I just don't know if he's ever going to do that. Because I think what George has kind of dug himself into a hole with is that I believe George has created so many plots, so many POV characters, that he's finding it very hard to condense all of them and to wrap plots up quickly in these next 2 books. And I think he wants to do it right. But the problem is you've waited so long now that if this book is not good, and let's say it even is bad, I don't know, I don't think it'll be bad, even if you released it. But let's say it's, subpar, right? Let's say, because for the most people, I think the community thinks that the last 2 books have been the worst ones of the series, which for me is true. But again, I like those books a lot, right? They're not bad books. They're very good. Just in comparison to the first 3, I think they are a little less. Like, their highs aren't as high. And the separating of characters kind of, mixes that up. If you combine the 2 books, right, when you're reading them, I definitely think they're very good as well. But for me, I think George has kind of just dug himself into a hole at this point. And I think he's very much scared to put this book out and to resolve it. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If you think we're going to get the finale of the whole series, if we're not. And also let me know again, like I said, how you guys like the background, if you like the fire stuff. I kind of did it because Stannis is my favorite character, and kind of just reminisce of the Battle of the Blackwater. I thought it was a good kind of theme, and also goes with like the colors of the channel. But let me know if you guys like that. Let me know on the mic. I'm still trying to get that figured out the best I can. Again, I don't have any of my OBS settings from my last PC, so I'm kind of just doing this stuff on the fly. And this is actually kind of an extra video I wanted to do this week, because I did not expect George to actually drop a blog about A Song of Ice and Fire this week. So I ended up making another video. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.